Cibo, acqua, risorse naturali, sono tutti elementi che genereranno e stanno generando problemi piuttosto complessi che incidono sempre di più sull'economia globale. Secondo lei i media, mi riferisco sia a quelli online che a quelli offline, ne stanno parlando a sufficienza?
Um, so I think parts of media are, particularly when we talk about online, there's always going to be a community of people who are passionate about a topic, who do follow it and track it. But I do think that this is a set of issues that doesn't necessarily make the front page news all the time. And I think the reason for that, it's the same reason that climate change didn't make front page news for a long time, simply because it's so large. There's no day-to-day events that happen, so therefore there's not much news in the sense of a big breaking story today. Uh, and that's unfortunate because sometimes we miss out, human beings, because we're so focused on a bomb that went off somewhere or who got kidnapped, that we don't realize there's much bigger problems that are subtle and slow and long term. And then the first time we hear about it in the news is when, half of Pakistan is flooded, or there's an enormous famine somewhere because we haven't really prepared our agricultural systems well for the future. So I think that's the reason why it's a big, complicated issue, and those don't make the front page headline news all the time.
Gli economisti sanno che la fame e più in generale la povertà sono in buona misura frutto anche dell'ignoranza, della mancanza di informazione. Qual è il ruolo dei media nello sviluppo umano dei paesi più poveri?
Well, it's interesting because when we think about something like food security, and we think about knowledge that people have, the first thing that may pop to people's mind is knowledge about farming and things like that. But I don't think that's always really the issue. We can take an example of a country like Zimbabwe that went from uh, an unjust system, but which fed the country very well, to an unjust system which doesn't feed the country very well at all. And you realize that in that process of reform, which was probably a sensible thing to think about, how do we reform a system? Um, and the knowledge that people didn't have was knowledge about governance systems and knowledge about what to demand of their politicians. And so we had a situation where essentially a dictator was able to take over and implement popular but very bad policies that led to ruin. And so the more that we can make sure that people have good knowledge about economics and politics and things like this, it helps them to defend themselves against demagogues who will put forward policies that sound good but are going to be a disaster.
Lei recentemente ha detto che in alcuni paesi africani l'accesso a internet sta crescendo più velocemente dell'accesso al cibo, ma potrebbe esserci anche un collegamento tra i due fenomeni. Più internet, più capacità di procurarsi e di produrre cibo.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I think that there's so many follow-on effects when people have knowledge that are sometimes indirect. Sometimes we don't think of, well, if I have access to information about technology, how does that help me get food? Well, it helps me get food in the simple way of maybe I can make more money, and there's always a way to get food if you have money. So I think it's the increasing ability of every single person in the world to have at their fingertips whatever it is that they want to know is going to be really dramatic. It's going to have a dramatic impact on all kinds of issues, and I'm excited about that. So.
Parlando invece di paesi ricchi e del dilagante problema dell'obesità e di altre patologie causate da stili alimentari errati, che tipo di educazione, secondo lei, occorre promuovere per spingere le persone a una dieta più equilibrata?
Um, well, I'm a big advocate of fun, and I think too often we present these issues in such a grim way. You're overweight and you're destroying the environment. Please stop. It doesn't sound like much fun, right? It's just not good. And we think of the good life as being sort of lots of rich foods and sort of a big feast and so on. And I think part of it is beginning to redefine our relationship to food, and to think about it and to take pleasure in the simple joys of simple food, and just things like instead of chomping down a cheeseburger at the drive-through, spend an hour and a half on a proper meal, which will be less calories, but also a much richer life experience. So I think that the more people come to appreciate and love food for what it is, ironically, I think they eat less than if they're just chomping down some calories somewhere, and they eat healthier and so forth. So I think a big part of it is getting people excited and passionate about the enjoyment of food, because then the process of saying, oh, we need to change our lifestyle so we aren't so fat, starts to sound like fun instead of sounding like something dreadful. It sounds like an enriching life experience, and I'll feel more sophisticated about myself, and I'll feel more enjoyment out of my relationship to food.
La ringrazio, signor Wales.
Okay, super. That was easy.